Hi, and welcome to DeLorean Talk. This is episode number 6. My name is Dave Tavers. As I've said multiple times before, this show is about the DeLorean and the DeLorean community. As a new owner, I thought it would be fun to talk to other owners, talk to other fans, find out why they love the DeLorean, find out what the great stories are about how you got your cars or why you got your cars. And today I am very happy to have Harley Droba, whose video there's a really good chance you've already seen online. It went viral around early to mid-August when he and his wife surprised his 9-year-old daughter with the DeLorean that they had just bought. Hey, Harley, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
Great. Have you done? I think you've probably done a bunch of interviews, right?
We have done a handful of interviews, yes.
Nice. How awesome to have something like that go viral.
It was a real trip. It was pretty awesome. Our it's changed a lot for us for a short period of time, I guess.
Well, and that's how viral things go, is that they get really popular for a couple days or a week and then move on.
Absolutely. It was actually a crazy thing the way the whole thing worked out is we actually had put it up on Facebook and we did it the day we bought the vehicle, which was August 6th. And we videotaped and everything that people had saw on the video had happened that day. And we had uploaded it to our Facebook page, myself and my wife. And ultimately, it got, I don't know, probably 2,000 or 3,000 hits just on our Facebook page in the first 3-4 hours. And ultimately, one of our friends just talked us into putting it on YouTube, and then it just took off within 24 hours. It was pretty cool.
Nice. I think every DeLorean owner just loves it because we all are passionate and we loved, especially kids. We love seeing kids that love the car.
Right. Yeah, and it was kind of neat when we put the video up there. I kind of had a small inkling that it could go viral. And when you say a small inkling, I mean, what are the chances? It had
Yeah.
all the pieces to it. It had a nice classic car in it. It had a cute kid, and there was a prank. We kind of thought, well, it has the potential of going viral,
Sure.
but what are the chances? We figured maybe 1%, and it just took off. It took 2 days, and next thing you know, we had 100,000 views.
That is fantastic. When I bought my car, I had wanted one for 25 years. Finally got one, but like a lot of the cars, it sat for 27 years in a garage, so it needed maintenance. Pretty much every friend and family that I have, they all knew for years that I wanted a car. I had models at my desk at work, I had posters and yada yada. So when I bought the car, I took it to DMC California to have it, repaired, updated, get, tires and all the stuff that it needs. And I didn't tell
Hmm.
any of my friends that I had bought the car because I didn't want to have the story of, hey, I bought a DeLorean. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's in the shop. So I figured once it's all running and I can drive it away, then I will do the reveals like you did to my various friends that I know how big a fan I am. So I had probably the exact same ideas and thoughts that you did on how to do reveals. None of them went as good as yours.
Well, the whole thing ended up being a weak story that ended up being the DeLorean.
Let's start back with how did you personally, or you and your wife, how did you come across DeLoreans? When did you start liking them? Why did you want one?
Oh, great, great. I love that. Let's do that. Let's take a trip back memory lane. I'm 38 years old. I was born in 1978. The car that I got is a 81 DeLorean. It's interesting because Back to the Future, it has to come up on a handful of your audio.
My opinion, the car is beautiful, it's unique, it's different, but come on, the Bricklin is also unique and different, and a dozen other cars are unique and different. Without the movie or TV shows that make certain cars special, they'd still be unique, but they would not have the broad attention. So Back to the Future is a very big part of DeLoreans and owning a DeLorean and wanting a DeLorean. I don't think anybody can disagree with that.
Absolutely. So the story takes place in 1985. I watched Back to the Future when I was 8 years old, and I loved the car. I loved the movie, but the movie was great. It had all of these great idiosyncrasies that made it, a classic that people still watch today. But the car, I thought that car is so cool. And at 8 years old, you don't have a real grasp on how everything works. And I left the thing thinking, well, that is a cool car. I wonder how long it took them to make that, because I had no idea at 8 years old that the DeLorean Motor Company was a real company, that a DeLorean was a real car. I thought it was a prop for a movie.
Right.
So, as I got a little bit older and I got a little bit wiser, and I realized, as I grew up that, hey, that's a real car. Wow, that would be way cool to own someday. That would be really neat. Well, let's be real. There's a lot of things in our lives that are really neat, really cool that you'd want to have, but you just kind of have to put them on the back burner and you go through your life. So I've went through this journey in my life where obviously we've all had jobs and we've done different things, and I've always had it in the back of my mind that someday that car is going to fit me and that's going to be what I have. And about 15 years ago is when I actually really started looking. And I had a little bit of money, and I've had a good job, and I've been very fortunate with things like that. And I started looking about 15 years ago for a DeLorean. Looking on car auto trader sites, just
Sure.
stuff like that, and
Right.
never really found one. And then about 9 years ago, after 6 years of searching, I ended up getting a line on one that seemed like something I could get, something I could afford, and it was actually in Fargo, North Dakota.
And where do you live? Or where did you live then?
I live in International Falls, Minnesota. It's right on the Canadian border. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world on beautiful rainy lake.
And you lived there 9 years ago when you got a line on this car.
Absolutely. Yes, I did. And so I looked, and I think it might have been a eBay, or it was on a website anyways that I had found it, and things were looking good, and the price seemed about right, and things were matching up. So I went to the bank and I asked them if I could get the money, and they looked and they said, "Well, your credit's good, but we don't give loans for classic cars." And that was like the first stumbling block I had on my journey of getting a DeLorean. So, we never had a deal there and just kind of moved on. Well, I ended up doing some different things in my life, and we ended up buying a bowling alley, and we've been working in the bowling industry for a
Wow.
little while. Yeah, there's a lot of really weird, fun things that I've done in my life, and this is just one thing that adds to
Yeah.
the fun, I believe. So we ended up having this bowling alley, and my close friends, like my very close friends, have always known that this is something I've wanted. I talk about it all the time, and
Yep.
my other car is a minivan. So let's be pretty clear on who I am. Pretty practical with one thing I've really liked.
Yeah.
So about 3 or 4 years ago, while running the bowling alley, I came across a DeLorean up in Winnipeg, Canada. And at the time, the Canadian money exchange, a Canadian dollar was worth 65 cents American, and a guy was selling a running DeLorean with 28,000 miles for $28,000 Canadian. Well, you do the math. That's
Yeah.
relatively,
What, 15, 18,000?
yeah, it's very, very inexpensive in the world of DeLorean.
Yeah.
We ended up buying it on eBay. It was on eBay Canada. We ended up buying it on eBay, and we ended up putting $500 down. And when I went to go and pick it up, eBay, or the guy called me ahead of time, and he had said, "Well, I just am curious on how you're going to bring the money across the border, because you can only bring certain amount of money over into Canada."
Oh.
And I said, "Well, I'm not going to bring any more than I'm allotted. I can bring up to $30,000 Canadian." And he said, "Well, but you're in America. It's supposed to be 28,000 American." And it was very clear on the website that it was $28,000 Canadian. We ended up getting eBay involved, and next thing you know, they just nullified the deal, and I got my money back. He got to keep
Huh.
his car, and yet again, Harley was stuck with no DeLorean. So since then, we've sold the bowling alley. We've I'm now actually a city councilor here in International Falls,
Wow.
and we have the conversations in the council chambers about the DeLorean that Harley's always wanted. And so what my daughter ended up going down into Minneapolis, Minnesota to spend some time with some family. She does it every summer, and it was their week or 2 weeks that she was going to go down there, and this year it happened to be a week. So we're up in International Falls, and I was kind of looking on the internet for some Vikings tickets this year because we have the new stadium down there in Minneapolis, and I was just kind of searching Craigslist for some football tickets. And I had never in a million years ever thought to look for a DeLorean on Craigslist.
Oh.
What would the possibilities be on that? And I had 0% chance in my mind that if I typed in DeLorean under Minneapolis Craigslist that one would pop. And sure enough, one popped up. And I sent the guy, he had his phone number in there, so I sent the guy a text. I said, "My name's Harley Droba. I'm up in International Falls, and I'm highly interested in the DeLorean if it's still available." And I heard nothing back. It had been, 24 hours, and I didn't hear anything, so I decided to send the guy an email. And he wrote me back, and he was interested in selling it. He had a person that was interested, but they were out of state, and the fact that I was in Minnesota made it a little bit easier to get a deal done.
Right.
And so we kind of hammered out some of the specifics, and he said, "Well, why don't you give me a call?" And so he emailed me his phone number. Well, that wasn't the email, or that wasn't the phone number that he had posted on Craigslist. So somebody out there in Minneapolis got a text one day, "Hey, I'm interested in your DeLorean," but they obviously didn't have one.
Right.
So that could have been a fun text message for him. So ultimately, this all of this is taking place in the week that my daughter is down in Minneapolis
Mhm.
at a family member's, and timing ended up being a kind of an issue because it's a Craigslist deal. Let's be honest, we all hear about what
Oh
happens
yeah.
on Craigslist.
The scams, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so um, he had given me the VIN number for the car that I had purchased, and we had a deal in place, and everything was seemed to go pretty good. And the one thing that was a concern for him was he wanted to make sure that if I had a registered check, or not a registered check, but a
Cashier's check.
cashier's check.
Yeah.
Yep, cashier's check, that I could get it to his bank before it closed, just so that they wouldn't
Verify.
be able to verify the money.
Sure.
Absolutely. And my issue was I couldn't get off work until noon, and I'm 4.5 hours away from Minneapolis.
Ah.
So I worked till noon. My wife and I, had borrowed a truck and a trailer to take it down to the cities. And my concern on the deal was I just need to see it and make sure that the pictures match the
Yeah.
car that you drop off.
Right.
And if you physically drive it there, I don't need to drive it.
Sure.
If you drive it to the facility, that's good enough for me, and we can do the deal. So we get down there. It's about 4:30. His bank closes at I think 5:30. So we had about an hour to walk through the car and make sure that everything was working. We couldn't go and pick up my daughter because of the time restraint, so we just didn't even mention it.
Yeah.
So we ended up having a wonderful deal, and if I'm misleading in the conversation, it's just because I didn't understand the whole thing. But it sounds like the person that I bought the vehicle from was married and was going to have their first baby, and they were just trying to make sure that they were going to be able to take care of their family, and they seemed like wonderful, wonderful people.
Nice.
He was so scared to hand over the DeLorean and the keys and the title, just
Sure.
as I was as scared to hand over the money.
Right. Right.
And so, anyways, he had after we had did the deal, we were walking back out to the car, and he had asked if he could take a picture of the truck that I had drove down there in. And I said, "Well, yeah, that's not a problem. It's not mine." And he goes, "Well, I understand that. It's just you hear about all the things on Craigslist, and I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we have as much documentation as we possibly can."
Yeah.
So, and I said, well, if you're looking to find me, my name's Harley Droba, and I'm pretty easy to find in International Falls. I'm a city councilor. And he said, I know that. I Googled you. You didn't offer me the most money. You were the most reputable person I could sell it to.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
so I thought that was way cool. So,
Yeah.
and after that, what we had to do is get the vehicle to where my daughter was staying. And that's where my iPhone comes into play, because the whole situation with my daughter in that video, it was last minute planned. It was not planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were going to my brother-in-law's house, and we were my wife is going to drive the truck and trailer, and I wanted to drive the DeLorean because I've been waiting a while to be able to do that.
Right.
So my wife gets ahead of me and she texts me the address to my brother-in-law's house, and so I'm trying to follow her, but I lose her. We ended up getting stuck between a train, so she's off with the truck and the trailer, and here I am in a DeLorean waiting for a train, trying to plug my phone into the cigarette lighter, which didn't work. So
Uh,
my phone ended up going dead.
oh,
So now I have no clue, in a car that I've never drove before, in an area that I'm not familiar with, trying to find, where to go.
right.
So I knew I knew that my brother-in-law lived near a Target in Roseville, Minnesota. So that's what I did. I drove the vehicle to Roseville, Minnesota, and I parked the car at Target, and then I went into Target and tried to find a power outlet so I could charge my phone, just so I could
Call and
talk to
tell her.
call
Yeah.
my wife and be like, "Hey, here I am."
Yeah.
So after a little bit of time, my my wife got a hold of me, and she said, "We're right." He lives right across the street. And I'm like, okay. So we were walking out, and I showed her where I parked and stuff, and we went over there. Well, when we were walking back over there, we just had this idea. Well, let's just not tell our daughter Caitlin that we got the car. Let's just, make it a surprise. So for the next 2 hours, we sat in the apartment chatting, talking about stuff, and everyone had things to do except for me, my wife, and daughter. So we just kind of said, after everyone leaves, why don't we run over to Target? We'll pick up some minor things, and we'll drop it off at the apartment, and then we'll go get a bite to eat.
Yeah.
So that was as far as we came to a plan
Right.
on this reveal of the car. So we walked right past the car going into Target. My daughter didn't even see it. I mean, we walked right past it, and she did not see the car at all. And so we went in, and obviously, I talk about DeLoreans. We've looked at them. I've always brought that up to my daughter, that I think they're cool, and kids buy into what their parents like
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
So we walk out of Target, and we're walking back to the apartment, and she saw the back end of the DeLorean, and she said, "Daddy, Daddy, there's a DeLorean right there." And that's when my wife started to record the video, and it was so innocent because my daughter just wanted to take pictures next to the car.
Right. I give you tremendous credit for the first time that you walked by it, for not pointing it out to her. That took some guts right there.
I stared it down. I literally, as I do right now. It's in front of my house right now, and I can look at it from where I'm at. I just love looking at it.
Yep.
But that's the thing. There was no plan to it whatsoever, and my daughter is such a sweetheart, and just the way she reacted in that video was just gold.
Yeah. So tell, for people that possibly have not seen the video, go ahead and describe the scene.
We came out of Target, and my daughter saw the car, and she wanted to get pictures next to it. So my wife was recording it with her iPhone, and my daughter gave me, I don't remember which it was, but either first she wanted to get a picture with it, so she gave me her iPod, so I took a picture of her. And then she took a picture of me, and then she asked me to give the iPod to my wife so she could take a picture of both of us together.
Right.
And neat thing of how other people reacted. I can't imagine kids would touch other people's cars, but in the video, you watch my daughter do everything she can not to touch the car.
Right.
And so here we are trying to take a picture as if we were going to open up the door. And I got my finger just around the door handle and I just clicked it. And the door went up and she went running. she, and she said, "Daddy, Daddy, shut it." And so, and sheer panic on her face because, I mean, obviously we try to respect other people's property as best we
course.
possibly can.
Sure.
And so the door's open, so I shut it, and she kind of pins down, and she's like, "Oh, Daddy, why did you do that?" And I said, "I just want to see more." So I opened the door again, and now she has lost her mind because I went and sat in the car, and she's like, has this nervous this nervous laughter, like she's looking around like the police are coming. And at one point in the video she says, "Daddy, get out of that car right now, the police are going to come." And so now I started now I mean, we have went to a different level of
Yeah. Commitment.
absolutely. And so she then like looks at my wife and says, "Why did he do that? Why is he doing this?" or something to that effect. And my wife then, and I had shut off the car at that point, and my wife said, "How did he do that? How does he have the keys?" And there's like this blank look from I don't know. I don't. And then there's just dead silence, and she looks, and I said, "It's ours." And she screams the happiest scream I have heard out of it. Was better than a birthday party scream. And she jumped into my arms, and it was such a wonderful hug. And then it was almost as soon as that wonderful hug happened, she dropped down, she went to the car, and she sat in it, and then she hugged the steering wheel and started looking around. It is something that I probably will have to see every day for the rest of my life. It is seriously one of the top 5 most magical moments I've had in my life, and you
Bet.
don't get those on camera.
Yeah, very rare. How old is Caitlin?
Caitlin is 9.
Myself and obviously probably millions of people have just loved that video because you're right, it is innocent and sweet and pure. It does not look like you guys had some big staged plan. It is
Absolutely not.
really wonderful.
Right? After that video went out and it got on YouTube and it started getting the hits and stuff, and it wasn't long after that we were contacted by Robert from DMC Vegas asking us if we wanted to be part of DeLorean World Magazine, and that was way cool. And we said sure. And it was that night at probably about 6 o'clock. Somebody had posted on my YouTube page, which we've only put up one video in our entire life.
It's a good video to put up.
Yeah, we did the right one.
Yeah.
So we ended up putting up that one video, and about 6 o'clock, someone had said that a company, Jalopnik, Jalopnik, had kind of did a little article on it, and we were probably going to go viral. And I at that point I thought, yeah, okay, this could happen. Like that's when reality kind of set in for me, and I'm like, okay, well let's see how this plays out. And it was pretty cool. And when we were able to read the first thread of comments that people put in there, my family had like this amazing moment because of what our joy we're able to bring to other people.
Yeah.
I think the first one was a meme of my daughter, and it says, "Wait, you spent my college education on a DeLorean?" And then someone else had a picture of me, and it said, "But if you're gonna waste a college education, why not do it with some style?" And then
That's a good one.
right underneath that one, someone had a picture of Gray's Sports Almanac, and it says, "Dad's got a backup plan." And
That's
so,
good.
so this is like the first, I don't know, 8 hours of going viral, and everything was so sweet and innocent, and we were having such a good time. So we had some really good stuff with that,
Nice.
and so all of that was way cool. And that was Tuesday night, and we just kind of left it as, well, let's see how this thing plays out. So Wednesday, like I said, I'm on city council, and I had a city council meeting with the press there, and I had said, I'm really sorry. I have a lot on my mind. I'm getting all these emails. We have a video that's going viral. So my local paper said, well, we'd love to do a story on that.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
and I said, way cool. I'm way excited. When can we do that? And they said, well, let's do it on Friday. And so I left my meeting that day, and my wife and I went down to the farmers market, obviously in the DeLorean, because we
You
we
got to
we
drive
want
it.
to use we got to drive it.
Yep.
And so we went down to the farmers market, and we were just looking at some bread, and I got a phone call from a old friend of mine who lives out in Portland. Her name is Monica Poncelet, and she had called and she said, Harley, did you buy a DeLorean? And I said, yeah, I did. How do you know that? Did you see our Facebook video? And she said, no, the Portland radio station's been talking about that video for about 2 hours, and when I saw it, I knew it was you. And I said, well, what do you mean they're, because I'm now a little bit weirded out because Portland, Oregon is using our video. And
Right.
she just said, well, they brought it up and they said, what are some pranks that you've played on your kids? And what's that
Oh,
car that what's that car you've always wanted? And they had like a 2 hour segment that kind of
played off of it.
video. Yeah.
Nice.
And so, I talked to her for a couple minutes. She told me about that, and I hung up the phone, and then I ended up getting a call from an old military buddy of mine, Patrick Millars, down in Oklahoma, and he said, they just told me on my radio that Harley Droba from International Falls bought a DeLorean, and his daughter Caitlin. He goes, there can't be two people that wanted a DeLorean and two people named Harley up in International Falls. And I said, no, it's me. And that's when it really hit of how crazy this was. And radio stations had hit it pretty hard,
Yeah.
like within the second day. And we had did some radio interviews in on Thursday in that Portland station. Two Minneapolis stations had contacted us and asked us to do some stuff, and we had did nine radio interviews on Thursday,
Wow.
and on Friday we did our local radio station, or our local newspaper, and one of the local radio stations had asked us about to do a little segment, and so we did that, and then we got contacted on Friday evening again by DeLorean Las Vegas about the DeLorean World magazine, and we just kind of thought that everything was gonna wind down,
Right.
and so Monday comes, the following Monday. So now we've had the vehicle for a little over a week and 2 days, I guess. And Monday came, and we had gotten contacted by, I think, five licensing companies across the United States and Canada asking us to license out the video.
Wow.
And uh, we ended up working with a licensing company, and the reason for it is we did notice that in the first week that our video went up, there was lots of our video going up on other people's YouTube pages as their own work.
Oh.
And I guess I'm not one of those people that needs things or anything like that, but what concerned me is how other people were going to represent
Your
our
daughter
moment.
and you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we ended up going with a licensing company out of Los Angeles, Junkin Media. It's the same one that handles the Chewbacca mom video.
Oh, right. Right.
Okay, so we ended up going with them, and they ended up licensing it out to a handful of places, and we were watching TV. Must have been Monday night of this week, and we saw ourselves on TV. It was on a national channel right this minute, and they had put together probably the best montage of it because they threw music in the background and they had dramatic music when the door opened. And it has been such an amazing journey from just wanting a DeLorean, getting a DeLorean, and then just the media sensation over an amazing moment with just my family, and it's been such a trip.
That is, it is wonderful to have that connection, and you guys, that will be a memory, a strong memory for the rest of your lives. Whether it's graduation from high school, college, children,
Abs-
grandchildren, this is a pretty special one.
it the car wouldn't have done the video. My daughter couldn't have done the video, and just doing that prank couldn't have done the video. It was everything that just came into one to make it such a amazing thing
Yeah.
for us.
I've only had my car for since January, and I always say the same thing, that was my holy grail. There's nothing else on my list that I want. That was it. And
Right?
I think we're on the same page. I'm 41. You said you were 42?
39.
39. So yeah, we're in the same boat of wanting one for a long time, finally getting it, and that having that special connection. So really
Hmm.
fantastic video. You are such a nice guy. I'm glad that this went so well for you. I'm jealous because I had visions of that, but if this had been your wife that you were surprising, I don't think it would have been quite. It wouldn't have gone as viral. Obviously, as adults, we don't get as excited. We don't have that same innocence. Your daughter made that video for sure. She was the one that
Absolutely.
made it fantastic. Great job on
Absolutely.
it. Very fun. Congratulations on getting the car too.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's been way fun. We've put some miles on it, and I think we are going to drive it. It is definitely it's going to get used. It's not going to get abused, but it's definitely going to get used.
Yeah.
Um, Never had a goal in my life to be in a car show, but we have a local bass tournament, and I put it in the car show, and I won first place.
Nice.
So, it's definitely opened up a new chapter in my life, and I've kind of looked at my life in segments, and I think this is going to be my time having a DeLorean. I had my time with the bowling alley. I've had my time now as a city councilor, and multiple other positions that
Sure.
are things that I've done. I had my military time, and you know everything kind of sits in my life in segments, and this has been a very, very good segment of my life. Although it's very short run right now, I see this being a while.
It is a hobby for sure.
Right?
Like you, I'm not a car guy. This is not, other than wanting the car. I rarely went to car shows. When I see a nice car in a parking lot or someplace, I'll admire it, but that's about it. It is a very different thing to all of a sudden own and drive a DeLorean because it is
Hmm.
fun. Everybody knows about it. I'm the same way. I never thought about car shows until after I got the car and
Right?
started meeting some other owners, and they're like, "Oh, doing an event. We're going to a parade."
Hmm.
I picked up the car in January and uh, did my reveals through the end of January. It was very fun. Set up a web page, all kinds of stuff, and then March 17th was the St. Patrick's Day parade in Hermosa Beach in California,
Okay. Right?
and that was a weird experience. I've barely been to parades in my life, let alone been in a parade. So here I got to drive the DeLorean with the doors up, with five or six other DeLoreans, and it's so much fun. I have no idea how many DeLoreans are within 100 miles of you, but I would imagine that you're pretty unique up there.
There is one other one in International Falls.
In your town, how big is the
In my,
town?
we have 6,000 people.
Wow.
It is my owner, or I'm sorry, my owner. My vehicle, as I could tell looking at the VIN and the previous owners, has had 8 owners. I would be the ninth.
What is your VIN number?
8702.
8702. Okay.
And so it's an 81, obviously.
Hmm.
And so I've always heard the rumor of the DeLorean here in International Falls. Actually, I've always known there was one here, but I had never seen it.
Really? All the years you lived there, you had not seen it and you didn't run across the person.
Right, absolutely. And I could never get a straight answer from anybody on who owned it. Like nobody knew, but it's obviously if you had one person that had a gremlin in your hometown, it's not like a conversation piece that just comes up at
Yeah.
regular dinners and stuff.
Yeah.
So so I see you've been working hard at the mill. Hey, do you know who owns a DeLorean? I mean, it just doesn't come up, but every once in a while you'd be engaged in conversation and say, I've always been trying to get a DeLorean, and people will say, oh yeah, there's one here in town. It's well, I think so and so had it, but no one could ever give me names. And about 5 months ago, I saw the DeLorean that's here in International Falls
Wow.
at a local auto body shop, and I'm very good friends with the owner of the shop, and he had posted on his auto body shop, "You got to love my job. These are the moments that I look forward to." And so finally, I had the moment where I could call somebody and say, "Hey, who owns that?"
Right.
And so he told me the name, and I said, I've been interested forever. Could you ask him if they'd be interested in selling it? And he said, or he said he would, and they were not interested in selling that car in any capacity. So, and that's cool. I understand. I'm not pushy in any capacity. I understand if people want their things,
Sure, sure.
you can't force them to give them to you.
So are you now friends with that person or that couple?
No, not yet. We actually have talked now. Uh,
Nice.
like I said, we had said we'd be interested in. So anyways, I buy my DeLorean, I have it in International Falls, and then the newspaper releases their article about the viral video and the DeLorean and all of that good stuff. And then everybody in town wanted to talk to me about the DeLorean here in International Falls, and everybody knew who owned it, who he sold it to, how long they've done it, what work they've had done for that vehicle. Everybody in town now knew everything about that other vehicle that's here in town. And the cool story is, so we get to International Falls, and we're driving around, and we went to our local supermarket, and I have it parked, and this lady comes up to me, wonderful person, and she comes up and she goes, "I've never seen a DeLorean in International Falls that I didn't own."
Oh no!
And
That's
so
incredible.
I turn around and I look and I said, "Oh, you must be Mrs. Shannon. My name is Harley Droba. Very nice to meet you." And she goes,
Wow.
"This isn't mine." And I said, "No." And she looked inside and she goes, "Oh, wow. Oh, you're having the same problem with this. So where do you live, sir?" And I said, "Well, I'm a city councilor here in International Falls." And she
Wow.
goes, "So there's two in International Falls?" And I said, "Yes, there is." And she goes, "Well, that's very interesting."
Wow. So does she drive the car? She's the owner, but maybe she does. It's
No, she does drive it, but it has had some work done, and I think it's in wonderful shape. It's just over time, as you know, things need to be done on it. So
sure.
it has been in, and it got some work done this year. And a weird moment. I don't know if she was driving it or if someone else was driving it, but we have a small town. I mean, and
6,000
I
people is pretty small for at least for me
yeah,
in California.
oh, absolutely. And I mean, we have two grocery stores, we have two coffee shops, and we have like four gas stations. I mean, that's
That's
our
it.
town. And so one day I was driving south on 53, which is our hometown, at the very last stoplight in our hometown, and I'm heading south on the road, and she's heading north, or that
Oh.
vehicle's heading north, and we are the first car at both stoplights. Can you even imagine that? Like, whoever sees a DeLorean and then driving through the
Yes.
intersection, you have one going in both directions.
Oh man, that would have been fantastic. Be driving the other direction and seeing a DeLorean on the left and then seeing one on the right. That would have been
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Wow.
so like I said, it's little things that have about this vehicle, and just how well it brings people together, and it's been such an amazing time for us.
Yeah. Congrats. Very fun. Now you guys can have a car show with you and the other owner in town. Just have a
Yeah,
DeLorean parade or
yeah, and it's so cool because I honestly don't know what else this is going to bring, because it's so fun.
there are so many people that have so many wonderful stories. The whole reason I started this show was because I'm also a new owner and I wanted
Hmm.
to get to know the community. I wanted to hear the stories, everything from why did you get the car, how did you get it. You really have one of the best reveal stories that I've heard in my life, and I've been following DeLorean since the early '90s,
Hmm.
seriously, and there's just not many out there. And of course, technology, internet, smartphones really make that possible. Something like this could have happened in the past, but not probably not likely. You know,
Yeah.
the car, we are the next generation, right? You've got all the original owners that are out there that have owned the car for 20 or 30 years, sits in a
Hmm.
garage, they never drive it, or they do drive it, but they're a little bit older. We are the next, age group, the 35, 45 year olds that have saved our money, done our jobs, planned, and then
Hmm.
finally got our holy grail. So,
Hmm. Yep.
and honestly, it is a hobby. Going forward, you are going to start comparing a lot of things in your life, going, well, do I want to do that, or do I want to work on the DeLorean, or do I want to take the DeLorean? I've had a hard time trying to just decide when to drive it. I have put miles on mine. I live in Los Angeles, so it's not hard to put 100 miles on it in one day. Now, you
Right.
live, no offense, out there, I often say the middle of nowhere, because I've been to Missouri, and I know that you have to drive 27 miles to get to a big store.
Right.
So I can imagine you could put a lot of miles out there. Out here, anywhere you go is a fair amount of miles, and it's fun. But I don't take it to the grocery store. I don't take it to pick things up, or if I'm just going to visit somebody, especially if they've already seen the car. But I do love getting it out there. You cannot stop at a gas station to get gas without somebody coming up saying, "I've never seen a DeLorean in real life."
In real life,
Yeah.
absolutely. In real life. That we were at the beach with it, and this kid came running up and he goes, sir, I've I just I've never seen one in real life.
Kids are the best. Kids are the
Absolutely.
best. When I'm not at a car show or at a big public place where there's a lot of people, if I'm at the gas station or at the store or someplace where there's a couple people around, almost every time if I walk out to the car, people are taking pictures of the car.
Hmm.
100% of the time, if there's a kid there getting a picture with the car, I say, "Hey, do you want to get into it?" And I open the doors, I get the kids into the car, I let the parents take the pictures, because that is what's going to, those kids hopefully will be the next generation when you and I, quote unquote, sell the car, if that
Right.
ever happens. But 20 or 30 years from now, hopefully they'll be the ones to buy the cars and be as passionate about it as we are now.
Absolutely, and that was what I did at the car show too. When I had it for the bass tournament,
Hmm.
when kids came up and were looking at it, I would just grab the soda or corn dog or whatever they had in their hand. And said,
Right.
"If you want, you can get in there."
If I hold your corn dog.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't eat it either. That was actually like restraint on my part. But it was so cool because the kids got into it and they just loved being part of it. And parents were taking the pictures. And one day we were driving, because it's a small town. I was driving down 11th Street in my hometown, and every time I got to this one house, this kid would run out, and he would run out and he'd wave every single time. And
Ah,
we don't get that in the minivan, just
yeah,
saying. And
exactly.
so one day we had some time to kill, and my daughter was at a play date with some friends, so me and my wife had to we had really nothing to do, and so we were driving, and I said, you know what, I'm going to see if that kid's outside. And so we ended up going the other way, and so I could be parallel to his house when we went by it.
Nice.
And he was outside, and I opened up the door, and he came running up to the car and he said, Marty, 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 I'm I'm so happy that you stopped. And I found out from the little boy's grandmother that was there that he's autistic, and Back to the Future is his favorite movie.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
he got in the car and he took pictures, and he did, with no staging whatsoever. The kid made the perfect pose. He had his hand up and he was looking at his non-existent watch
Oh,
with his
nice.
hand on the door. And it's just moments like that where you can share happiness with other people, that I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what life's about, right? Sharing your special moments with other
Yeah.
people.
I'm the same way. I love making people happy. I love helping make people happy. I worked at Disneyland for many years. I
Oh,
love
I
being
worked at
happy.
the Disney store.
Did you?
I
Small
did
world.
in the Mall of America. Actually, when you first pulled this up, I had saw that you had your you must do a Mickey podcast in some capacity too,
No,
or oh, I
I have another website called mousemingle.com. It's a dating and social site for Disney fans. So
oh my gosh.
I've been on a bunch of other Disney fan podcasts, but I don't. This is the only show that I do.
Oh, okay, okay. And the only reason I asked that, me and my wife are big fans. In fact, we go down to Disney World every year for Very Merry Mickey Parade
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Christmas time. We do that every year.
I'll plug one of my other sites as well, findingwalt.com. I'm a big
Okay,
Walt Disney fan, and take a look when you guys get a chance.
okay.
The car makes people happy. I had a friend from Seattle visiting a few 6 months ago, 5 months ago, and she's not a car person. We went someplace, we took a drive. She commented that when you're sitting at a stoplight, people walking through the crosswalk get a huge smile on their face. People love looking at the car.
Absolutely.
There are not many things in life that cause people to just smile without a joke being told or something happening. The car all by itself makes people smile. And that is what's magic about it.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think you and I could be good friends someday.
Such a pleasure to talk to you. I have a couple of questions for you though.
Okay, great.
You've only owned the car just over a month. You've been driving and enjoying it.
Yep.
Right now, what is in the trunk?
Right now in the trunk I have my folding chair that I used at the car show. I have a funnel to because I had to fill up my windshield washer fluid, and I've never needed a funnel to do that with any other car I've owned. I have the schematic wiring diagram in the hood,
Good.
the original spare tire, and I think there might be some tire washing or tire cleaner in there. That's
Cleaning
about it.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
Curious.
just cleaning stuff. Yep.
And you said your daily driver is a minivan.
Right. That's what I take to and from to work.
Other than the DeLorean, at some point, at least for me, there was a point where I said I'm never going to be able to get a DeLorean.
Right.
If you ever had that feeling, was there another car that was your dream car?
No. No, there really wasn't. I got a 2003 Harley Davidson Centennial Edition Dyna Wide Glide, and I love driving it. I thoroughly enjoy it, just like I do the DeLorean. Well, no, not just like. Um,
Yeah, very different.
Very different, but there's a lot of things that I enjoy, and there's a lot of things that are awesome to have. But there has never been anything like the car that I have just wanted.
Yeah.
Maybe to travel, but that's not an item, that's an experience.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing the whole story. I think it'll be fun to, at some point, I'm guessing that you'll go to like DCS or some other big DeLorean event. I know it never crossed my mind to go to one of the conventions until after I owned the car, which is
Hmm.
silly. But I just went to DCS a few months ago in Springfield, and I'm going to DeLorean weekend this next month at the end of October. At some point, DeLorean Owners Association is working on an event, I think. I can't remember what it's called, but they have something coming up. And then DCS will be here again in a year or two. So maybe
Hmm.
we'll run into each other there, and it'll be great to meet you. And I hope that you will maybe put up a website and share some pictures and put your stories together.
I think that is definitely in the plan.
Good. Thanks you again for joining, and for everybody else out there, I hope that you will send in your comments or questions about DeLoreans, share your stories. If you have a suggestion on who else could be on the show, send that in as well. You can email comments@DeLoreanTalk.com. Also, check out DeLorean Talk on Facebook and Twitter. Just do a search and it'll come right up. Thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you next time.